Shalom, shalom, Shovel Dog here once again with your weekly drosh. Got a lot of stuff going on here. I still didn't get ink for the printer, so I got the stuff up on the screen again here. And check it out. Finally got my menorah, the one I've been looking for years. Got burned on that last one, but I sent it off to a friend, so I hope they're happy with it. Hi, Alicia. But anyways, we get to see here not only the power of Yah, but how people lack in faith. And people haven't changed, okay? People back then are the same as we are now. All we have is different technology. But, you know, the hearts of men either go to Yah or they go to Satan, one or the other. You know, it's never changed all throughout all creation. Okay, but this is Parashah 16, Beshalach, after he had let go. This is chapter 13, verse 17 through chapter 17, verse 16. And we'll just jump right into it here. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his servants had change of heart towards the people. They said, "What is it we have done, letting Israel stop being our slaves?" So he prepared his chariots and took his people with him. He took 600 first-quality chariots, as well as the other chariots in Egypt, along with their commanders. Yahweh made Pharaoh hard-hearted, and he pursued the people of Israel as they left boldly. The Egyptians went after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, with his cavalry and army, and overtook them as they were encamped by the sea of Pihahirot, front of Baal-Zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up and saw the Egyptians right there coming after them. In great fear, the people of Israel cried out to Yahweh and said to Moshe, "Was it because there weren't enough graves in Egypt that you brought us out to die in the desert? What have you done, or why have you done this to us? Bring us out of Egypt. Didn't we tell you in Egypt to let us alone? We'll just go on being slaves for the Egyptians? Would be better for us just to be the Egyptian slaves rather than to die in the desert." Moshe answered the people, "Stop being so fearful. Remain steady, and you'll see how Yahweh is going to save you. He will do it today. Today you have seen the Egyptians, but you'll never see them again. Yahweh will do battle for you. Just calm yourselves down." Now that speaks volumes here, okay? Okay, they saw all of the miracles that Yah performed in the desert. They saw it. They saw it with their own eyes. They saw that they were passed over when they spread the blood of the lamb on, with the hyssop leaves on their door frames and everything. They saw Yah's power, but either they wanted more or they still weren't convinced. Okay, and it's a superstitious nature of Egypt that we have today. It's a superstitious nature of today too, which is, they just say, "Oh, it's luck." Or, it was coincidence or something like that. People try to explain away Yah's power. So what's Yah do? He ramps it up. He ramps up that power. He's going to ramp up his miracles because nobody's going to downplay his glory and nobody's going to take his glory away from him. And he definitely isn't going to share his glory with anybody. You see? But Yahweh asked Moshe, "Why are you crying to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift your staff, reach out with your hand over the sea, and divide it in two. The people of Israel will advance into the sea on dry ground. As for me, I will make the Egyptians hard-hearted, and they will march in after them. Thus I will win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and all of his army and chariots and cavalry. Then the Egyptians will realize that I am Yahweh, when I have won myself glory at the expense of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his cavalry." Now, why does Yah have to win glory? It's because people aren't giving it to him. People aren't jumping up and down saying, "Oh, glory to Yah." No, they're not giving it to him, so he has to win it for himself. It's his glory to begin with, but he has to win it. Because right now, if they're not jumping up and down and throwing their hands in the air saying, "All glory to Yah," guess who gets the glory? It's Satan. Satan gets the glory, and Yah's not going to share his glory with Satan, you see? That's how that works. And so that's why he has to win his glory, okay? It's his glory. It's just he has to win it back, basically, because the people's hearts were turned against him. The people's hearts were not with him. If they were with him, then they'd be jumping up and down saying, praise Yah, and just, having a good old time and not even paying attention to the Egyptians or any of the stuff going on around them. But no, they whine like little babies, just like people today. Next, the angel of Yahweh, who was going ahead of the camp of Israel, moved away, went behind them, and the column of cloud moved away from in front of them and stood behind them. It stationed itself between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel. And there was cloud and darkness here, but light by night there, so that the one did not come near the other all night long. You see, the Egyptians were put right into darkness, and the Israelites had light. This was at night. They had light. They had the Shekinah of the Almighty. But Moshe reached his hand out over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back before a strong east wind. Now, see, people say Moshe parted the sea. Well, Scripture says that it was Yah that parted the sea. Okay, but that's another part of human nature. The wickedness of humans to idolize and to worship humans, idolize and worship what they can see. Okay, and who they see as responsible for doing it. Okay, they saw Moshe raise that staff and Yah split the waters, so all of a sudden they're looking at Moshe. Okay, Moshe is a lot of people's golden calf, especially in the Jewish community. You see, my brothers and sisters in the Jewish community, they're guilty. They're guilty of looking at Moshe as their golden calf. Okay, by giving him the credit for parting the Red Sea. But Moshe reached his hand out over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back before a strong east wind all night. He made the sea become dry land, and its water was divided in two. Then the people of Israel went into the sea on dry ground with the water walled up for them on their right and on their left. Now just imagine that. Imagine that. You're walking across the sea on dry ground. Okay, if you were to just dry up Lake Erie, how long would it take that ground to actually dry? Think about that. But Yah just did it. And they were walking across on dry ground. How cool is that? The Egyptians continued their pursuit, going after them into the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and cavalry. Just before dawn, Yahweh looked out on the Egyptian army through the column of fire and cloud and threw them into a panic. He caused the wheels of their chariots to break off, so that they could move only with difficulty. The Egyptians said, Yahweh is fighting for Israel against the Egyptians. Let's get away from them. See, the Egyptians knew. The Egyptians knew it was Yah. It's if they had an insurance company, okay, the insurance company would say it's an act of God. Okay, but that's the mindset. Okay, they know that Yah's there. They understand his power and everything like that, but they don't acknowledge it. They don't sing praise to him. They don't do anything. They just look at him like some kind of big, mean guy in the sky sitting on a cloud with a lightning bolt in his hand ready to strike anybody down. That's the way they look at him. So if they had to call Geico or something for their claim on their chariots, well, you bet Geico would be saying it was an act of God. But it was an act of Yah. That's what it is. But, if something goes wrong with your car, if something happens to your truck or a piece of your equipment or something, well, maybe Yah's doing that in order to slow you down. Think about that. But anyways, let's continue here. Yahweh said to Moshe, reach out your hand over the sea, and the water will return and cover the Egyptians with their chariots and cavalry. Moshe reached his hand out over the sea, and by dawn the sea had returned to its former depth. The Egyptians tried to flee, but Yahweh swept them into the sea. The water came back and covered all the chariots and cavalry of Pharaoh's army, who had followed them into the sea. Not even one of them was left, but the people of Israel walked on dry ground in the sea, with the water walled up for them on their right and on their left. Imagine the water. I mean, what kind of faith does it take? You know, you have a wall of water. You really can't explain it. You know, a scientist would try to explain, well, it was, a gravitational shift in the polar or whatever. You know, they try to explain it, but there's no way to explain it. And you don't have time to figure it out. Okay, you just got to go. Okay, you got to walk in faith and just have faith that water's not going to come crashing down on you, you see? And I'll bet you if one Egyptian out of that army would have had that faith, he would have made it through. See? If he would have had that faith that this is not going to crash down on me, I believe in the Almighty Yah, he would have made it through and he would have joined, okay? But that's not the case. That's not what happened. All of them died. On that day, Yahweh saved Israel from the Egyptians. Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the shore. When Israel saw the mighty deed that Yahweh performed against the Egyptians, the people feared Yahweh, and they believed in Yahweh and in his servant Moshe. Now, Moshe led Israel onward from the Sea of Suf. Now, Suf means the end, so that's basically the Sea of the End for the Egyptians. You know, it's definitely where they met their end, and that's where the Egyptians met the end of their slavery and their dependence on Egypt too. Okay. But they went out in the Shur desert, but after traveling 3 days in the desert, they had found no water. They arrived at Marah, but couldn't drink the water there because it was bitter. This is why they called it Marah, bitterness. The people grumbled against Moshe and asked, what are we to drink? What are we to drink? Now, why? Why are they whining? They just crossed across the sea. They saw all these miracles from Yah, you know, and they could walk in faith across the floor of the sea there, but they couldn't have faith that Yah's going to provide them with water. I mean, but Moshe cried to Yahweh, and Yahweh showed him a certain piece of wood, which he then threw into the water, made the water taste good. Then, there Yahweh made the laws and rules for life, or rules of life for them. And there he tested them. He said, if you will listen intently to the voice of Yahweh, your God, and do what he considers right, pay attention to his mitzvot and observe his laws, I will not afflict you with any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians. But I am Yahweh, your healer. Or because I am Yahweh, your healer. Okay. Now we see the structure here. If you will listen intently to the voice of Yahweh, your God, and do what he considers right. Now see, this is the Messiah Emmanuel speaking about Yah. Okay? Because if it was Yah speaking, he would say, if you listen intently to my voice, the voice of your God, and do what I consider right, pay attention to my mitzvot, and observe my laws. See if that was Yah speaking. But no, that's Emmanuel. That's Emmanuel speaking about Yah's laws. See, there's the Messiah right there in Scripture. And, the Israelites and foreigners who came with him had been grumbling, because they're hungry too. Give me water, I'm hungry. Are we there yet? I could just picture it. Yeah, it pulled the Israelites out of Egypt because, he is their father. The foreigners followed because they had faith in the Creator. Okay, they acted upon that faith. And pulled his people out. Okay, but he didn't reject the Gentiles who decided to come along. You see, and it's the same thing going into the kingdom. Okay, going into the New Jerusalem. Yah's pulling his people out of Egypt. Okay, and his people are descendant from Israel. Okay, from the 12 tribes. His people are descended. Okay? Now, we have the foreigners who decided, hey, I'm going to follow their God. I'm going to follow the one true living God. I'm going to follow the Israelites. And Yah did not reject them. But it's a decision. Okay? I don't have the decision. Well, of course, I do have a decision. If I want to live the rest of my life in total darkness and total discipline from Yah, he's going to make my life a living hell if I don't come out of Egypt. You know what I mean? And, if you're going through a real rough time right now, if you're going through all kinds of hell, then you know what? You're probably one of the 12 tribes. You're descended from one of the 12 tribes. Turn to Yah. Turn to Yah. Open up the first 5 books of Scripture. This is what we're talking about now. These are the Parashah. These are the Torah portions, okay? It's directly relevant to our lives because all the laws of creation are here. The first commandment in Torah is let there be light. And look, we have light. Think about it. If the Messiah were to come here and do away with the Torah, that commandment also for the light would not exist. And we would have darkness so thick that we could touch it. We could feel it. You see? The same as Yah put down on the Egyptians. But let's continue here. Moshe said to Aaron, say to the whole community of Israel, come close into the presence of Yahweh, for he has heard your grumblings. As Aaron spoke to the whole community of the people of Israel, they looked toward the desert. And there before them, the glory of Yahweh appeared in the cloud. And Yahweh said to Moshe, I have heard the grumblings of the people of Israel. Say to them, at dusk you will be eating meat, and in the morning you will have your fill of bread. Then you will realize that I am Yahweh, your father. See, that just goes to show, okay, Yah provides all of our needs. We're supposed to depend on him for everything. Okay, the Israelites, when they were in the desert, they didn't have jobs, they didn't have houses, they didn't have, they had to depend on Yah for everything, every single thing. Okay, and Yah said, okay, well, you'll have your fill of bread, you're going to have meat and everything else. He told them, this is what Yahweh said. Tomorrow is a holy Shabbat for Yahweh. Wow, Shabbat. Bake what you want to bake, boil what you want to boil, and whatever's left over, set aside and keep it for the morning. They set aside until morning, as Moshe had ordered, and it didn't rot or have worms. Moshe said, today eat that, because today is a Shabbat for Yahweh. Today you won't find anywhere in the field. Anywhere in the field are you going to find manna. Gather it 6 days, but on the 7th day is a Shabbat. On that day there won't be any. However, the 7th day, some of the people went out to gather and found none. Okay, so if you're dependent on Yah and you want to break the mitzvah, well, there's going to be nothing for you. He's gonna eliminate that for you. But here we go again with the Messiah speaking. Okay, just listen how this is laid out. Yahweh said to Moshe, how long will you refuse to observe my mitzvah and teachings? Look, Yahweh has given you the Shabbat. See? See, that's the Messiah speaking. This is why he's providing bread for 2 days on the 6th day. Each of you stay where you are. No one is to leave his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. The people called the food manna. It was like coriander seed, white, and it tasted like honey cakes. Moshe said, here's what Yahweh has ordered. Let 2 quarts of manna be kept through all your generations, so that they will be able to see the bread which I fed you in the desert, when I brought you out of Egypt. Moshe said to Aaron, take a jar, put in 2 quarts of manna, set it aside before Yahweh, to be kept through all your generations, just as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. Aaron set it aside before the testimony to be kept. That's the 10 Commandments, okay? The people of Israel ate manna for 40 years, until they came into an inhabited land. They ate manna until they arrived at its borders of the land of the Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of a ephah, which is basically a bushel dry measure or whatever. But the first thing he did when he took them out of sin, okay? Now, if you're a Christian and you say the prayer and everything, you think you're all saved and everything, and well, then your pastor tells you, okay, you're good to go. Just do what you want because Jesus did it for you. Well, no, because this is a total reflection of our spiritual walk today. Okay, what's the first thing Yah taught them? The Sabbath. Keep the Sabbath, okay? The 7th day, not the first day, which is Sunday, but the 7th day, okay? This is the first thing he taught them when he took them out of sin. The first mitzvah, okay? Probably the most important for him because it's the first one he taught them. Of course, it's an easy one to do, Okay, not really difficult. But then I have a lot of people saying Acts 15:29 says to abstain from what has been sacrificed to our idols, from blood, from things strangled, and from fornication. If you keep yourselves from these, you'll be doing right. You'll be doing the right thing. Well, that's not the first thing they taught the non-Jews, okay? Not the first thing they taught the Gentiles. That was one of the many things that they taught them, but the Gentiles were already keeping the Sabbath. How do I know? Because everybody in Acts, okay, all the apostles were teaching from Torah, okay? And they're following the pattern that Moshe set, you see? So the first lesson was the Sabbath. So they're obviously already obeying the Sabbath, okay? But let's continue here. Chapter 17. We're almost done here. The whole community of the people of Israel left the sea and desert, traveling in stages as Yahweh had ordered, and camped at Rephidim. But there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moshe, demanding, "Give us water to drink." But Moshe replied, "Why pick a fight with me? Why are you testing Yahweh?" Now let's just stop right there. I'm going to highlight that. Notice what he said. Why are you picking a fight with me? Why are you testing Yahweh? Okay? That's because Yah, or actually Emmanuel, the Messiah, was working through him. Okay? The Messiah was dwelling in Moshe at this time. So when they started quarreling and coming after him, he's like, why do you test Yah? Why do you test the Messiah, basically? Why do you test El? Huh? Why do you test him? Because the people are coming after Moshe. Now, see, I get people coming after me, and I say the same thing. Why are you testing Emmanuel? Why are you going against the Messiah? Because the Messiah is working through me, okay? He's working through me because I am careful to not only obey the commands, but also teach people to follow the commands and to pray and everything else. I know the Messiah is working through me because when he wasn't working through me, I was preaching all the Christian stuff. I was preaching all the rabbinic stuff and everything else. See? Okay? That's when you know the Messiah is working through you. Okay? It's when you not only acknowledge the commands, but you obey the commands, and you also teach others about the commands and how to follow them. That's what you do. But whenever somebody wants to come after me, that's fine. They're attacking the Messiah. They're the Messiah in me. They hate the Messiah in me. They don't hate my flesh. It's the spirit inside of them that hates the spirit inside of me. That's what's happening. What could I do, But let's continue. However, the people were thirsty for water there and grumbled against Moshe. For what did you bring us up from Egypt? To kill us, our children, and our livestock with thirst? There they go again with no faith. No faith. They walked through. They walked through the sea. On dry ground. That alone would be like, okay, well, this creator of ours is really powerful. So if I'm thirsty, I know he's not going to bring us out here. But see, this is Satan speaking through them to Moshe, and speaking through Moshe to the Messiah who is working through him. You see? You see that? You see how that works? Okay, they're grumbling against Moshe. Okay? But it's Satan working through them. Okay, not all the Egyptians were killed in the water. Okay? Satan, the Egyptians' god, he just followed the Israelites. And we're going to see this all through these Torah portions here. But Moshe cried out to Yahweh, what am I to do with these people? They're ready to stone me. Yahweh answered Moshe, go ahead of the people and bring with you the elders of Israel, and take your staff in your hand, the one you used to strike the river, and go. I will stand in front of you there on the rock in Horeb. You are to strike the rock, and the water will come out of it, so the people can drink. Moshe did this in the sight of the leaders of Israel. The place was named Massah, testing, and Merivah, quarreling, because of the quarreling of the people of Israel, because they tested Yahweh by asking, is Yahweh with us or not? Now see, Moshe is a statement, a testament that Yahweh, or Emmanuel, actually, was with them. Okay, because it was Emmanuel that was working through him, you see. But they people can't trust in what they don't see. That's, and if you're going to move forward in your faith, you got to learn to trust what you don't see. Okay? And you have to learn to distrust everything you do see. I mean, it's topsy-turvy. Yah gave us these senses, I think, for a sense of humor. Sight and hearing and all that stuff as a sense of humor. And also so that we can enjoy, good food and stuff like that. But, you know what I mean? Because what we see, touch, and feel and everything is not really reality. Because when we're connected to Yah, that reality's shot. Okay, we live in his reality and not the reality of the world. Then Amalek came and fought with Israel at Rephidim. Moshe said to Joshua, choose men for us, go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with Yahweh's staff in my hand. Yehoshua did as Moshe told him and fought with Amalek. Then Moshe, Aharon, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. When Moshe raised his hand, Israel prevailed, but when he let it down, Amalek prevailed. However, Moshe's hands grew heavy, so that they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aharon and Hur held up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on the other, so that his hands stayed steady until sunset. Thus Yehoshua defeated Amalek, putting the people to the sword. Now see, this was a lesson in faith, okay? Because not only to trust in Moshe because he was a messenger and an emissary of the Messiah Emmanuel, but also because they knew that everybody had to have faith also. Okay? When you're down there fighting, you see Moshe's hand drop and you start seeing people get killed around you and hurt. Well, then, your faith is sort of shaken. But when you see that staff rise again and all of a sudden, the armies that are coming against you are failing, then all of a sudden that's everybody having faith. Faith in sight, okay? These people were geared into faith by sight. Okay, that's why they made the golden calf. That's why that's why Moshe was instructed to put the serpent on the pole. Okay, because they had to have faith by sight. That's what they needed. Okay, and that's what they were accustomed to. And Yah was trying to wean them off of that and to bring them into faith without sight. Okay, just blind faith. Just I could run through the forest and not hit a tree because I know Yah's going to guide my steps. That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? But Yahweh said to Moshe, write this in a book to be remembered and tell it to Yehoshua. I will completely blot out any memory of Amalek from under heaven. Moshe built an altar, called it Yahavah Nisi. Yahavah is my banner or miracle. And he said, because their hand was against the throne of Yah, Yahweh will fight Amalek generation after generation. Have you heard of Amalek? Are they alive today? Are they around today? Huh? You see? But, we have to condition ourselves to walk in faith, in total faith. Not in what we see and touch and everything else, okay? But in total faith. Okay, I'm going through a legal battle right now concerning the house. I know a lot of you out there right now are going through a foreclosure also. Okay, we approached the bank for a moderation, to moderate our loan, and they said, well, you have to be 90 days delinquent, and they told us not to pay our mortgage for 90 days. They said it should take less than 90 days, though, to, get this modification going and everything. They dragged it out over 2 years. Then they come at us for foreclosure. It's like, we're following your rules, but they put us into this situation. But you know what? Yah's going to take care of it. Yah is going to slay that giant, okay? But see, if I were to go on what I see and what I touch and what I feel and what I know, based upon my senses, I would think we're sunk. But I know Yah, he's not going to throw us out in the street. He's not going to do that. He's going to go and take care of business. That's what he does for his people. If you're one of his people, you got to just put the blinders, just blindfold yourself and walk in faith. Walk in total, complete faith. And always seek first the kingdom of Yah and all of his righteousness. And all these things will be given unto you. Okay, folks, if you want to hear the weekly message, okay, the podcast, go to www.4yeshua, Yeshua, Libsyn.com. Go there, and that's a weekly message. This message coming up, I'll probably have it up by Thursday, is basically about the Pharisees when they were going to stone the woman that they were claiming had, that was caught in adultery. And we're going to go in depth into why they did not throw those stones and why they threw those stones down. Because the law was still in effect where blood had to be shed for sins, okay? Because the Messiah hadn't shed his blood yet. So, according to Torah, they should have been throwing those stones at that woman if she was guilty, okay? But the Messiah said, let he who has no sin cast the first stone. What did he mean by that? We're going to get into that in the Messianic Jewish moment, okay? You'll see it right up on the screen here. Okay, you'll see the URL up on the screen here for, after this fades out, right at the end of the video. All right, take care, folks. I look forward to the next time.